Guantanamo were not picked up directly by the U.S. troops, or picked up by other local troops who then profess that these people are related. But the hard part of this is that inevitably some of these people are fighters. Some of them do go back to the battlefield and fight us. So really, can we release them in our country? I'm not sure if they all can be tried properly either. So really, I think deportation or sending them back to their country of origin might be the best way to go. And none of it's fair, because some have been held for years and years without trial. If they truly are people who were involved with attacking the U.S., I think maybe then they should get life sentences, and some should stay in prison.
But they deserve a trial.
Exactly. They deserve
because
a trial.
Because if they don't get a trial, we're not going to get a trial. We know, Dr. Paul, they're using the Patriot Act against non-terror-related cases. They've set the precedent. All of this is going to come back on us.
Right. Oh, I agree with you. And then ultimately, though, if you cannot figure out how to have a trial and cannot have enough evidence to do this, I think deportation is the only acceptable way. And I think you deport them to where they were captured. Now, they say, oh, these countries won't take them back. Well, I think we have enough military force in Afghanistan that they can be taken back to Afghanistan at the very least. And I think that would be acceptable for the vast majority of people. It gets rid of the idea of having to try them. And then, a lot of us aren't going to be too happy if, you take people who are potentially violent, and we don't know this, but are potentially violent, and just put them on the streets of Austin. I think sending them back to where we captured them is probably the best thing. The
media just does that to demonize releasing any of them. Final question, Dr. Rand Paul. We have the DHS report that we broke and the MIAC report that we broke. When Ron Paul first got it, he didn't believe it. We don't make stuff up. I don't blame him. I mean, it's pretty crazy. But the point is saying that veterans, gun owners, conservatives, Ron Paul supporters are basically terrorists. Another example of how this war on terror is being used against the American people.
I think the great irony of this, and it would be funny if it weren't so sad, is that one of the criteria for being on the list could be if you're an adamant defender of the Constitution. So defenders of the Constitution, those who talk about the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, those people, or even people who are ex-military veterans who have served their country and come home, these are the people we have to worry about and put on a special list. I think it's really, really horrifying, and there should be just universal outrage. And, to tell you the truth, once it became public, I was unsure what would happen. But the amazing thing is, the more y'all talked about it, the more they did get worried that they were targeting regular U.S. citizens, and at least officially pulled that off their websites because of things that y'all talked about.
Dr. Rand Paul, let me say bye to you during this break and maybe even hold you over a minute or two, because I want to give out that website again, and I want to give out a number for folks that may not have computers.
Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
Yeah, I called Jesse Ventura at home today. How weird is it that me and him are good friends? We had a long, good talk on the phone. He's so interesting. He's going to be on at the end of the show today. He's going to do a full hour coming up, not this Monday, but next Monday, because I called him on short notice. He's going to do 30 minutes today. That's coming up with a lot of breaking info. We got Dr. Rand Paul, RandPaul2010.com is the exploratory committee. So be sure and check that out. I wanted to give out a phone number, but his office isn't big enough yet to be able to take that. So we'll give you a mailing address for our 20-30% of the audience that doesn't have computers and wants to be able to write to him or send a donation. But I wanted to finish up with you in a few minutes we have right now, sir. Talking about this DHS report, I know people had trouble believing it. I did too. And then I called the FBI numbers on it, and they said, yeah, that's ours. Where'd you get it? And the MIAC report we got from two separate state police officers, and then I called the number, and they said, yeah, where'd you get it? But the moral is we fought back, and now they're having congressional hearings. The guy in the state police that issued it with the feds in Missouri had to step down. They're having to apologize because they have to tell these lies about Ron Paul supporters basically being terrorists in the dark. And I think it was a wake-up call to America that this whole Homeland Security thing is about the government suppressing the will of the people and bringing in tyranny, that they've been using this threat of terrorism as a pretext.
Yeah, the other interesting thing, and I'm not sure if anybody's found this in any other states, have we found any other states that are doing this? Did Missouri think of this all by themselves, or did this come from DHS in Washington?
No, this was written by DHS, and this is in North Carolina, Virginia, Texas. We basically have these from every state.
And they all had sort of the same thing that they were doing in Missouri?
Well, see, I've been breaking these, and others have, for 13, 14 years. This one just got attention for some reason. Yes, it's all basically the same.
Yeah, it's kind of scary when we're profiling our own citizens.
Well, here's what I wanted to tell you while we had you. Well, Wayne Paul, your uncle, was up at the In the Fed thing with us in Dallas while your father was down in Houston, and we got the secret Army report and then called and they confirmed it. Did you know Army intelligence was spying on your dad and your uncle and me in Texas? And that document, you can just Google In the Fed protesters watched by Army, and that you can call that, sir, and the Army will admit. And it said, don't let them know you're military. They could terror attack you. And it says, watch out. We're vicious. And does that sound like freedom to have the Army watching your dad?
No, and it really is kind of a sad state of affairs that you can't gather publicly and in peace and protest against the policies of your government without fear of people spying on you.
Well, it shows me the private Federal Reserve's in the wrong, and they're scared of us. They're scared of our liberty movement.
Well, I think one of the things you could see in the eyes of Bernanke the last time my father grilled him in committee was that there's a difference in tone. He's always been polite and deferential to my father, but with that last grilling, he's starting to think something might happen, that we might actually take some power away from the Federal Reserve. So I think they're being even more deferential in their treatment of him, because they really think he now might have the votes to cut off their unlimited power.
And your father, last time he was on 2 weeks ago, said that he believes that he may be in danger as he continues. These people don't play games. Your father has a lot of courage, and he needs our support and prayers, and we commend you, Dr. Rand Paul, for your fine work as well, and need you to follow in his footsteps, so please run for Senate. Give us the mailing address for folks that want to support that way.
If you want to mail something to me at 1332 Andrea Street, Andrea, Bowling Green, Kentucky, 42104, and it's Rand Paul for U.S. Senate Exploratory Committee.
Give it out again, please.
Rand Paul for U.S. Senate Exploratory Committee, 1332 Andrea Street, Bowling Green, Kentucky, 42104. And the address is also on the website, if people see it on the website, randpaul2010.com.
All right, we salute you and your family's courage. We're firmly behind you and beside you. Go with God, Dr. Rand Paul.
Thank you, Alex. Bye.
All right, there he goes. Take care. We shall continue on the other side with all the financial news, your phone calls, and a lot more. The resistance continues.